Hi, my name is Allie Larsen, and today I will be presenting on how to create a mindful life. A lot of times we get so caught up in the daily stress and the high demands that our schedules place on us that we forget to be present and aware of what's going on in this moment. And mindfulness truly is a skill that can help us stay present and stay aware of the things that we can control in the now. So when we're first starting to implement mindfulness in our lives and wanting to cultivate this skill, what can be very helpful is to take an honest look and evaluate the stressors and demands of our life and our current situations. A couple questions that I've come up with that can help us do this are: what are we looking for from the practice of mindfulness? Are we looking to reduce our stress levels? Are we looking to bring a little bit more inner peace into our lives? So what are we looking for out of the practice? When do we feel, and in which environments do we feel the most stress or the most anxiety? Where in our life does the most stress come from? What are our biggest stressors in life, whether it be school, work, relationships? Taking an honest look at that. And how willing are we to stay open for mindfulness practice to work for us? By turning a little bit inwards and being honest with ourselves, so we can evaluate so that we can implement mindfulness better in our lives and make it work for us the best it can. Mindfulness, when we hear terms like that, we usually think of meditation or yoga or sitting in a room in silence for a long period of time, but it really doesn't have to be like that, and it's a lot easier than people think to implement it in your everyday schedule and lives. Mindfulness truly is just the act of being aware and present of this moment. So a couple of things that mindfulness is not. Mindfulness requires no religious affiliation. It requires no equipment. It requires no cost to you. A couple of things that it does require are intent, a little dedication, and a little bit of practice. So you have to be able to give to the practice a little bit to see its benefits in your life. So mindfulness comes in a lot of different packages. Like I said, we tend to think of it as a certain way, but it really doesn't have to. It can look a lot of different ways. So I've given a few examples here just so that you can see how they might work for you. And go ahead and take the first things that we went over, looking at your life and your situation. Think about those things. Think about the stress that you feel in your everyday life. And then think about these examples that I'm giving you so you can see how to implement them the best in your daily schedule so that they can work for you. The first example I've given is eating slowly. Eating is something that we obviously have to do, so we've come up with the quickest, most effective, efficient ways to do it. However, we take all the mindfulness out of it when we just eat to eat. So by eating things one at a time, slowly, paying attention to the taste, the texture, the flavors, using our senses to eat, that is a mindfulness practice in and of itself. Another idea is closing your eyes and focusing on a part of your body. It's really noticeable when our head hurts or our back aches. Those are noticeable pains that when we feel them, it's hard to ignore. However, how often do we give attention to other parts of our body that maybe aren't even feeling pain? We're just giving attention and mindfulness to those parts of your body and being specific about it. So closing your eyes and thinking, how does my left pinky feel? And what does it feel like to be my left pinky? Practices like that, sending awareness somewhere where there usually isn't any awareness, that is mindfulness. Focusing on your breath, whether it be through counting your breaths or just saying the words inhale and exhale as you're doing it. Again, breathing is such an automatic process of ours that we don't even think about it. But if we can turn inward a little bit, just for a moment or two, and count our breaths, listen to our breathing, notice our breathing, that is implementing awareness and giving us a little bit more awareness of this moment. Doing one task at a time. We are great multitaskers. We've learned it since we were young. However, again, it takes all mindfulness and awareness out of the activity. So just by doing this, maybe once or twice a day, you don't have to try to implement this into every single thing that you're doing all day, but just picking one activity. So whether it be doing the dishes, just doing the dishes, not on the phone at the same time, cooking dinner at the same time, just doing the dishes, focusing on how the dishes feel. Do you like this activity? Is it something that you enjoy? Picking one thing a day and just doing that by itself and giving it your full awareness and attention. counting your steps as you walk, noticing your feet, what you're walking on, the ground, what it looks like. Something just as simple as that. It really doesn't have to be harder than any of these examples, but these are all great examples of mindfulness and ideas of practices that you can do in your own life. So I'm going to have you try it for yourself now, just so that you can do it and see it in motion. So go ahead and hold up your non-dominant hand, and then pretend like you're holding a pen or a pencil. And you'll notice when you first go to hold this imaginary pen or pencil that you kind of have to give a little bit of thought as to the shape of your hand, what it feels like to hold a pen. It's so natural for us to just do it with our dominant hand. So when you do it with your non-dominant hand, you kind of have to think about it for just a second. And then go ahead and trace your name in the air. And again, you'll notice as you're making those shapes, you kind of have to give a little bit more thought. How does it feel to write those shapes? Is that how it goes? Yeah, okay. Stuff like that you would just normally pick up a pen and write your name so quickly. However, when we turn something super automatic into a mindfulness practice, it's just sending a little bit more awareness. By using our opposite hand, we bring more awareness to what we're doing. We have to think about it just a little bit. Slowing us down, bringing us back to the present moment. That is a mindfulness practice. I keep saying mindfulness practice, and truly one of the most important parts of mindfulness is practicing. Like any other skill, it takes time and effort. We have to learn, we have to reteach our brains how to do it. Our brains are so hardwired to just going. We're constantly multitasking, trying to get as much done in as little time as possible. So it takes time to retrain our brains, to slow down a little bit, to do one thing at a time, to bring awareness to each thing that we're doing so that we can live a little bit more in the present moment and in the now. So it takes time, and it definitely takes practice and a little bit of dedication. Incorporating practice into your life, how to remember to do it, because that is probably the hardest part about implementing the practice in your life, is remembering to do it every day. So a few ideas for that: writing it on a sticky note where you'll notice it every day, writing with a dry erase marker on your mirror, setting reminders on your phone, things like that just jolt our memory, remind us to do a little bit of mindfulness practice so that we can remember to actually practice every single day. So mindfulness, what do we want out of it? We want an aware life. We want a life of living in the now, living in the present moment. It is so easy to worry when we look at our anxiety and our stress. A lot of times what we'll find is that we are worried about things that are either out of our control or things that we just don't know how they'll turn out. So when we can focus on this moment, on the now, what can we do now? What can we change now? What can we work on in this moment to, instead of constantly giving energy to things that may or may not even happen yet? That is what we're wanting from mindfulness, to be aware of this moment, to be present in this moment so that we can focus on the things that we can change rather than the things we cannot. A little thing that I like to remind myself of that is to pause in the moment, pause for just a moment, breathe, bring that awareness, that mindfulness into that moment, and then go ahead and act. By doing this, by just taking a second, stopping, breathing, bringing that awareness and that mindfulness into the moment, and then go ahead and acting with a little bit of awareness and a little bit of presence. That is mindfulness. Thank you so much.